Okay. A very hearty good morning. It is rightly said that an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. With the same motive in mind, we have gathered here to invest our valuable time and gain knowledge from the International Symposium on COVID-19 and beyond. The new normal in higher education institutions being organized by JC Bose University of Science and Technology, YMCA. It can't be better than this. It's a full packed hall and people are joining YouTube link as well. On behalf of family of JC Bose University of Science and Technology, YMCA Faridabad, I, Dr. Sanjeev Goel, take the opportunity to welcome Chief Guest of the session, Shri Raj Nehru ji, Vice Chancellor, Shri Vishwakarma Skill University. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dinesh Kumar ji, JC Bose University, YMCA Faridabad. Special guest of the session, Dr. Linda Amrane-Cooper, Head Distance Education and Director Strategic Projects, University of London. I take this opportunity to welcome our invited speakers. Professor Seema Malik from Mohanlal Sukhadia University, Udaipur. Dr. Mohit Gambhir, Innovation Director, MHRD's Innovation Cell. Professor Sanjeev Agarwal ji, Country Manager, IBM Singapore. And Professor Komal Bhatia and Dr. Neelam Dhuan from JC Bose University, YMCA Faridabad. I will further take this opportunity to welcome our worthy registrar, Dr. S.K. Garg and Professor Sandeep Grover, Dean Quality Assurance and Program Coordinator. It's indeed to have honor to have you all here, sir. I take this opportunity to welcome all deans, chairpersons, faculty members, organizers, participants of the symposium, members of the press, and students to this event. To start with the program, let us invoke the blessings of God by lamp lighting.
शत्रुबुद्धि विनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोस्तुते शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः.
Thank you very much. Now I request Dean Quality Assurance and Symposium Coordinator, Professor Sandeep Grover, to present the program introduction. Sir, please.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You're audible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Namaskar and a very good morning to all of you. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Vishwakarma Skill University, Shri Raj Nehru ji. Honorable Vice Chancellor, JC Bose University, YMCA Faridabad, Professor Dinesh Kumar ji. Invited guests and speakers, participants and fellow colleagues. I welcome you all to this symposium. The COVID-19 pandemic has changed the world over, and the higher educational institutions are no exception to it. The changing landscape of higher educational institutions is imminent in terms of online teaching learning, e-library access, physical landscaping of the campuses, the examination methodology, etc. And during these times, we have to switch over to this new normal, and as always, concern for well-being of our students would be there. With this aim, JC Bose University of Science and Technology, YMCA Faridabad, is holding the symposium. The two sessions would cover the broad areas of teaching learning, pedagogies of the future, and well-being of the students. We have eminent experts for the purpose as just introduced, and we hope this would help us all to prepare successfully and identify and tackle the challenges. The symposium is joined by experts from some of the most renowned institutions of the country, and overseas also from University of London and AV University of Arad, Romania. Thanks to our university's international cell. We have participants from 16 different states of the country, and also international participants from Germany, Malaysia, Netherlands, and Thailand. Dear participants, I welcome you again to this online platform of 50-year-old institution, which is a state government university of Haryana, and all its courses are approved by regulatory and all academic bodies. Further, the overwhelming response to this symposium motivated us to make this live on YouTube. Looking forward to the informative and interactive sessions. Thank you all and welcome again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I request all the participants to please keep your mic and video off and ask questions only through chat box. All questions will be taken at the end of the session. Now, I will take this privilege to introduce our Vice Chancellor, Professor Dinesh Kumarji. He has obtained his PhD degree from Cambridge University and has published more than 100 research papers. Sir is the recipient of Homi J. Baba Gold Medal Award, which was given by none other than our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji. He has also been awarded with the title of Rangbandhu Shiksha Shiromani Samman by Rangbandhu Sahitya Academy, and is also awarded with the title of Most Eminent Vice Chancellor by All India Council of Human Resources. Under his able leadership only, the university has reached new heights like A grade accreditation by NAC and NBA accreditation of its various courses. Sir, we are looking forward to your address. Sir, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Goyal.
Thank you, sir.
So, good morning, everyone. It indeed is a great opportunity for me to say a few words before starting the symposium today. First of all, on behalf of members of JC Bose University of Science and Technology, I would like to express our great pleasure in welcoming you all and in hosting the International Symposium on COVID-19 and beyond, the new normal for higher education institutions. At the outset, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks and to Shri Nehru, Vice Chancellor of Shri Vishwakarma University, the first government skill university of India, and the chief guest of today's event. Shri Nehru has been bestowed with an enormous responsibility by the government of Haryana to develop qualified youths with skill proficiencies, provide flexible learning opportunities to the youth, along with imbibing them with the spirit of entrepreneurship. And so far, he has been successful in paving the path. I always feel glad, whenever I am in his company. He is full of energy, full of motivation. And in my university, many times, I try to copy, the way he worked. So it's really nice that Shri Nehru is with us today for the keynote address of this one-day symposium. We are delighted to have the gracious presence of our special guest, Dr. Linda Amrane-Cooper from Distance Education and Director Strategic Projects, University of London, and other distinguished speakers, Professor Seema Malik from Mohanlal Sukhadia University, Udaipur, Dr. Mohit Gambhir, Innovation Director from MHRD, Innovation Cell, and Shri Sanjeev Agarwal, Country Manager, IBM Singapore. We are indeed thankful to all of you that despite your very busy schedule, you all have taken time out of your busy schedule and you are with us. I extend a very warm welcome to you on behalf of the university, and all of us present here today are really happy that this one-day symposium is going to target the need of the hour issues. All of us know that after COVID-19, the whole scenario had changed. the way of teaching learning has changed. And so we are really worried what we should do now in future. And that's why perhaps this one-day symposium, where they are organizing 2 sessions, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. And both the sessions are very relevant, especially, because of online teaching learning process. We need to know what are the best ways, what are the best means, how it can be done more efficiently. And because of this online teaching, when the students will not be able to participate physically in the campus in various activities, they may be having some kind of difficulties, and we need to address that also. And for that, they have kept another session in the afternoon that is for wellness or well-being of the students. COVID-19 is bringing a lot of challenges for all of us. All of us know that India would not have been in this kind of stage had we not have good connectivity. Our internet connectivity, thanks to our scientists, technologists, who could really provide a good connectivity to most of the Indian cities and Indian institutions. Because of that, we have seen that even in this post-COVID or during this COVID-19 situation, most of us, while working at home, we are able to connect because of this. I know there are some countries nearby us, like Afghanistan. Because of this connectivity, they are not able to pursue their any teaching learning process, and they are really finding it very difficult. So still, sometime I listen that this connectivity is around going to 70 to 80% of the students. But yes, it is still much better in our country, and I'm really happy, and I would like to express my thanks to all persons responsible for this. It is important to identify key challenges for students and teachers in the current scenario. Once we can identify those issues, for example, today's symposium is going to identify those issues, then we can address and we can solve those issues also. As I believe, to move forward the post-pandemic phase, it is important to build a robust infrastructure for technology-enabled teaching learning, ensuring both students and teachers are fully equipped for the digital transformation in higher education. Now even the teachers who are not used to this technology kind of thing, they will have to change their ways and means. They need to learn all these platforms, how to use this online platform, and how to effectively impart instructions to the students. There are many things. One is like teaching to the students by way of lectures, but sometimes you might have to also do teaching by way of practicals and actual skill kind of thing. Dr. Raj Nehru is with us, who is actually trying to find out solutions for many of the things using online mode, because his university is mainly targeting to give the skill to the students. And in this change scenario, we really need to find out that how we can give skills to the students using online mode, because most of the skill is given this is like while working and while actually doing work in the companies and factories and laboratories. And if that is not possible, then how can we actually impart the skill? That's really a challenge. So we need to find out right kind of platform, right kind of technological solutions for addressing this teaching learning process. And I'm happy that that today in this conference, when we discuss about these issues, at the end of the day, perhaps some of the good things will emerge, and which we can implement in our university system, and even other universities can follow. One way is that we talk of, even before this coronavirus or before this COVID-19 situation, many of the institutions were working using some kind of online mode, or using some kind of, they were giving some credits to MOOC courses. So partly some of the things already started before this, but now after this COVID-19 situation, there's a really strong need that we need to find out a robust system. We need to have a robust system which actually do not fail. We cannot say like 70% students are able to get education using online mode. We have to make sure, we have to ensure that 100% students are at this. Not even a single student is left. So for that, our whole technology platform, online platform has to be really very robust. And we need to find out the best solution for that. Apart from that, when the students will not be able to go to the campus physically, there may be a problem of, some kind of psychological problem, some physical problems can also arise. So we need to really think as an administrator of an institute or university, we need to seriously think that how to address those issues, because students will not nowadays these playing grounds are empty, no one is playing, and students are only sitting in their home and just sitting only before the computer all the time. This can also give some kind of problems, some kind of things. We need to address that also. So how to solve all these issues? Those issues are going to be discussed. How to use blended learning. Maybe what we can do, we can have some kind of online mode, some kind of offline mode, and we can have some physical distance. We can maintain that. Can we allow our students to live in hostels? There are many things are going to emerge. Even if we decide to open the institutes and all the students, how to manage those things. So this is really a challenge. And now we need to find out new normals. New normals means maybe not only education institutes, even if you have to travel, how to travel. If you have to go to a restaurant, how to go to a restaurant and how to eat food. So there will be new SOPs, standard operating procedures, which will be there for everyone, for everything. So similarly, for our higher education institutes, we need to find out new SOPs also, which can be used for the well-being of the students, which can be used to impart these instructions and the skill training and practical training to the students, and keeping everything in a proper way. So with these words, I would like to welcome all the experts from outside, and I'm very happy that large number of participants are attending this conference today. I can already see here more than 480, and I have been told that they have also got a link on Facebook, YouTube, which will be also used to see this, because we have the limit of 500 people in this platform. And so I'm very happy, and I would like to congratulate the organizers for making sure, for roping in the experts like Raj Nehru, Linda, and many more. So with these words, I would like to welcome all of you again here to this conference, and I wish a great success to this conference. Thank you very much. Namaskar. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, we are quite sure that all your concerns regarding online teaching learning process will be addressed in this one-day symposium. With that, now I will take this opportunity and honor to introduce chief guest of this session, Shri Raj Nehru ji. He is a Vice Chancellor of Shri Vishwakarma Skill University and a Mission Director of Haryana Skill Development Mission. Along with that, he is also a founder of Utsav Foundation. This foundation educates and skills underprivileged children from slums. Sir is a person with a passion and deep desire to serve humanity, remove human sufferings, and bring a smile on the faces of others. Sir has worked for more than a decade with IBM and Concentrix India. He has a wide global and cross-cultural experience and has worked in Philippines, China, Europe, and United States for his various projects. Sir, we are very keenly looking forward to your address. Sir, please.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir.
Yes, yes, perfect.
Thank you. So, first of all, my heartfelt thanks to all of you for organizing this wonderful and much required event that we are going through today. And this is something that the societies today, especially post-COVID, have been struggling to figure out, that how they are going to reform certain aspects in education. And I think almost every teacher is today uh, looking for ways to engage with the students. So I first of all want to compliment uh, the university for organizing this event, one-day event, and inviting the speakers from cross sections of the society, cross region and cross country. This will give a multiple perspective around this topic. I also want to thank Dr. Dinesh ji for giving me this opportunity of coming over to speak on this occasion, on this subject. This is the much required topic. So thank you very much once again. So while there are multiple perspectives today, as we all have gone through a sudden shift, we all know that the pandemic that has caused the entire world to suffer and go through multitude of problems, the education sector was not left behind, and it had to face its own challenges. And one of the biggest challenges was that the entire education community had to move immediately to the digital form of learning. And the challenge that emerged was that the faculties and students had to recalibrate themselves with the new norm. And given that the common difference between the digital learning and the classroom learning, that there was very less time for any one of the faculties or students to really create that differentiation within that short period of time. So the digital learning and the classroom learning, not a much difference was actually brought in. And faculties had not much choice. I think many of the faculties had gone through a terrible pressure and anxiety levels of how to maintain the similar level of engagements that they do normally in the class on the digital platform. But this situation has also brought a new thinking among the academic community to think about how the future of learning will emerge, and that emergence will also impact the way faculties today will have to devise their teaching pedagogy. I will refer to important things before we actually go into the teaching pedagogies. And the first thing is that we need to understand, because we are today talking about the teaching pedagogies of future, and one of the changes that has emerged is the corona. But I think there has been already a discussion going on for quite some time about the teaching pedagogies for future. So when I was looking at this topic, I looked at it from two perspectives. One is that the most important driver that has been compelling all of us to relook at the teaching pedagogy is the changing learning styles of our students. If you see the new millennial that we have been experiencing for quite a long time now, we have seen that the millennials have been brought up, their nurturing, their development, their exposure has been quite different. And we have seen that millennials' expectations are quite different than the ones which the time that we have gone through. And because their expectations are different, their experiences are different, the way they have been nurtured differently. When they enter into the class, their learning styles also go through a different kind of shift. So the first thing is the kind of expectations the learners today have in the classroom when they enter the classroom is that they expect the teaching based on research-based methods. They expect that there is what is being taught to them is more relevant. Today they have Google in front of them. The knowledge that we want to impart or the information we want to pass to them in the class is available to them on the click of the button. So they are the aces at Googling and discovering information through their own means. So whatever is being given to them, they look at the relevance of that information. The third thing is the new generation has been brought up into a very different kind of a world where respect for their opinion and the involvement of these millennials in the day-to-day decision making at home has been more prevalent. We have seen at home the decisions we make, the conventional days when we were small children, the decisions were made by the elders. But today, in the current scenario, today the decisions in the families, in the nuclear families, are made jointly, where the opinion of children is always taken. So they always look at a rationale of anything that's being taken up or decisions being made. They are very relaxed and they are a little laid back and they prefer a relaxed learning environment. They don't want pressure in the class or pressure in their day-to-day approach. So their approach towards learning is also very relaxed. And the most important thing I realized for these young millennials is that they expect a rapport in their day-to-day conversations with people. So when you conduct any kind of class, they will prefer that there is a involvement, there is a rapport building by the people who are conducting the class, and they also expect that the older adults who conduct the classes or who are engaging with them, they show more interest in their lives, and they prefer they prefer and appreciate that instructors are showing a personal interest in their training and development plans and achievement goals, because they have certain aspirations which they want to achieve, and they are expecting that someone is actually deeply touching those aspects. So that is one part. So learning styles of our youngsters have gone through a significant change compared to the learning styles when we at our time had actually experienced. The second change that has happened in the society is that we have become a little bit of consumeristic society. And in this consumeristic society, everything is today measured by virtue of its outcome, its impact, its productivity, its effectiveness. So learning has also gone through a significant impact in terms of being measured. So the most important part is that whatever we are today delivering, whatever we are today offering, the central point is whether there is a evidence of that impact, and that becomes the central component of teaching practice. That what works for the learning and development has been actually proven for the impact among the learning users. So evidence of impact and the learning effectiveness becomes another fundamentally important driver. So on the one side, we have a learning style changing. The young millennials and the millennials, the new youths of today, their learning styles have completely changed. The first thing is, as a faculty today, do I appreciate and understand the changed learning style of the new generation, their aspirations, their feelings, their emotions, their understanding, what they prefer. Most of the youngsters today prefer micro bite-sized learning. They do not want to go into the details. They are more keen that they are engaged and involved into discussions rather than a download of the lecture. So one important aspect is, as a faculty, do we appreciate what the new emerging generation is expecting? What are their new learning styles? And on the other side, as a faculty, I also need to be mindful of that how the evidence of impact is measured, how the evidence of impact is created, how the learning effectiveness that a faculty is today delivering is measured or delivered. So to me, while there are many ways of looking at it, we are today using technology now, we are moving on to a platform, we are going towards a virtual mode of learning or a blended mode of learning, and we are using cluster and combination of various tools and techniques. I think a couple of things that are coming to my mind, because we are talking of future, and future is of technology, future is of data, and data is becoming the prime mover in almost all aspects of life, whether it is business, whether it is social life, whether it is educational life. I think the first and foremost driver of future pedagogical intervention would be the analytics. And when I say analytics, to me, it's defined as supporting the learner to reflect on what is learned, what can be improved, which goals can be achieved, and how to move forward. Means, can I provide a self-directed view to a learner to reach his or her goals through smart analytics? And it provides learner visibility with such visualizations of potential learning paths or personalized feedbacks that is automatically coming to a learner. For example, a learner is going through a self-regulated learning, and in that self-regulated learning, the learner is also getting opportunities of self-assessment and also getting opportunities of the self-scoring. And the learner understands that what kind of improvisation he is actually on. And for example, today you see we have Netflix, and on the Netflix, when you go, or similar other platforms, when you look at various movies or what you enjoy on Netflix, you also start getting the analytics part of it, and that analytics part of it tells you that which content you have liked, and basis on the liking of your content, the Netflix throws some of the similar content that you as a user have liked. So what I am saying is that the first thing in the learning pedagogy, the new innovative pedagogies of the future, I think the faculties must learn how the formative analytics can be leveraged. And this is a radical departure, let me tell you, from the traditional pedagogies that either place the teacher at the center or expect students to be fully responsible for their learning and development. Here it is creating empowerment of the learning responsibility, learning effectiveness on the student, because the data analytics is giving power to the student to design, drive, plan, and for teacher becomes just a facilitator in this process. So the first thing to me, because we are talking of future, is formative analytics. The second important thing in this process is, I think today drones are going to play a very important role in the life of students. Robots are going to play a very important role in the life of student learning and the pedagogies that we will adopt. Because learning with robots could help teachers to free up the time on simple repetitive tasks and provide scaffolding to the learners. So if faculties have identified what are the new robotic learning interventions that can be incorporated into their teaching pedagogies, I think they can focus more of their time on more value-adding activities and leave much of the repetitive tasks to the self-learning opportunities of the learner. I think another important aspect, because I remember when I was in the corporate, we used to have adults coming in the class because most of the faculty, most of the students that we had during our teaching process were the working executives. And with working executives, I realized that download of presentations, normally faculties go in the classroom with presentations, and download of presentations was largely not appreciated by many of the classroom learners. And that was creating a lot of disengagement in the class. So many times I have also seen in the current environment that many faculties go inside the class with their own presentations, and then they create discussions around the presentations that they have created. So some of the percentage of students may like to discuss those aspects, but majority of, because the kind of, as I said in the first point, that learning styles have changed. Because of the emerged and the new learning styles, the new generation does not prefer the download or the directed learnings. So my third aspect that teachers today must look at is the teach back mechanism. We used to, I remember 3% teach. In the 3% teach, there are three people, where one is teaching, another is the taught, and the third is an observer. And then they keep on changing their roles. So teach back means that when two or more people, they demonstrate, one demonstrates the learning and another listens to it, because one person is considered in that 3% teach as an expert because he has learned in the class, and he's teaching to the another person who may be a less knowledgeable in the context, and the third person is observing. And through this process, they keep on changing their roles. With the changing of the roles, they reflect on what's going on within each other. Now, with this process, there is a higher possibility of learning becoming more effective, because in their age group, they would be very open to discuss and debate and question and respond to each other. And it will help those people to learn because it's a sharing of information. There will be some pieces of information with one learner, some pieces of information with another learner, some pieces of information with another learner. So when 3% teach happens, there is a greater possibility of synergizing the overall knowledge component into a more holistic experience, because the debate has happened between the three people. So I think the teaching pedagogy of future must, the faculties must explore this teach back or the 3% teach with the students, because I feel this is an ideal way of incubating and empowering youngsters and students to learn on their own, explore on their own, experiment on their own, and experience on their own. And the faculty becomes a facilitator, observer, and moderator. And the faculty's role here would be asking only relevant questions rather than answering, asking questions and creating that sense of exploration among the inside the mind of the people. Because here it is moving away from that conventional method where our focus was only to increase the memorization. Here you are creating a space for exploration. Here you are creating a space for playfulness of the learner, and that enhances the socio-emotional growth of the learners in more holistic manner. So this is the third input from my side, how the future pedagogies must be relooked at. The fourth thing I think is what we call place-based learning. Place-based learning derives learning opportunities from local community settings. Today, especially given the time of the Corona period, people are locked in their areas. They are in their respective regions. They are not coming to the colleges. And even in future, there may be blended solutions where most of the time they may be spending in their respective areas. So through place-based learnings, the students can connect concepts from the classroom and textbooks with the practical challenges encountered in their own localities. So place can refer to, the learning about the physical localities, but also the social and the cultural layers embedded within their neighborhoods, and engaging communities and environments, as well as observing them. So you can have subjects like applied humanities as well as science subjects, where students can pick up their places and create certain activities in their places, and learn from those places to see what can be improved. Uh, so I think it can help if this place-based learning is deployed in the new pedagogies. It can also help in solving the local community problems, and it can also help a student to get immersed in the local community problems. So I think this is also going to be a very important aspect of learning. The last important thing is, I think, the technologies that we are today adopting, whether it is Google or GoToMeeting or the Microsoft or Hangouts, whichever platforms we are using, I think very important piece is that the coming days is going to be the days of technology. And in the coming days, it is important that faculties must adequately learn how these technologies are to be used. The technologies are not simply the shifting the physical classroom to a digital classroom and continuing with the same age-old practices of teaching in the class. Then the technology has given you an opportunity to relook and retailor your conversation with the students. For example, very basic things. On the platform, you have so many options today. For example, when you go to the platform, you have creation of the groups or discussion rooms. So faculty has an opportunity of dividing the entire group into small discussion groups, and the small discussion groups digitally can discuss and come back and present back to the classroom. So this is a great option where you involve the faculty students into the class. The second thing is polls. You know, many of the tools that you are using today, whether it's GoToMeeting or any other tool like Microsoft or Google, it has got a poll option as well. The faculties have to think about how these poll options can be leveraged effectively from time to time in their respective subjects, and then students can be brought in for presenting their responses and discussing around the overall outcomes of the polls. And then there are many options on where you have sharing of screen, discussions, and faculty must also relook at their content delivery, because students would prefer in digital mode very brief and very micro sessions, because attention span of these youngsters, especially on the digital platform, is very short. So we have to make sure that we do not lose the attention of the students, and at the same time we keep on engaging. And then there are basic things, you know, when you are working through the digital platforms, how you can look at the basics of that. In the technology side, I think the coming days are the days of augmented reality, virtual reality, gamification, and simulative technologies that must be identified and curated with the curriculum, because most of the times student may be in the remote areas, contactless classes would be there. So you have to figure out what kind of simulative practices which are available or which can be designed, developed, they can be integrated into the class so that the learning and experience can be integrated together. The knowledge can be taken to the next level. And the last one, which I said, the first two things, aligning to the learning style. So if these few steps can be taken for the future, it can actually shape up the experience of the students, their engagement, their attention in the class, and their knowledge can be taken to the next level of experience. The second part was the learning effectiveness. I remember there's one important model which in my days I had gone through, that was the Kirkpatrick model of 4 levels, where the purpose of the model was to measure the overall effectiveness of the learning that has happened. And these 4 levels of Kirkpatrick model talked about the reaction, learning, behavior, and results. So in reaction, it would talk about how participants, when you deliver a lecture or when you deliver a class or when you finish your class, how do you measure how participants reacted to that session that you had delivered? That was the level 1 of the Kirkpatrick model. The second level of the Kirkpatrick says that learning analysis, that learning analyzes how training has become a little bit become effective, which means that the knowledge that you have created inside the class, the participants had initially reacted that they enjoyed or they found it beneficial. That level 2 was to measure that the knowledge and the skill of the class has gone up. So that was the level 2 of Kirkpatrick model. The third level of Kirkpatrick model talks about the behavior change. So the first 2 levels are about what you did and how students experienced and how their level of knowledge and skill has moved to the next level. The third level is talking about how their behavior has changed, how they are now doing certain things differently, how they are responding to certain situations differently, how they are applying in certain situations differently. And then the fourth level of effectiveness talked about the results, that now that they are applying that behavior into the situation differently, is that changed behavior resulting into the desired outcomes? So level 1 has to eventually get converted into level 4, means the desired outcomes. So learning effectiveness, as I said in the beginning, a faculty in its pedagogy must remember what is the outcome you want to achieve from what you are delivering today. And those outcomes must be visualized by a faculty and then reverse engineering around it and then seeing what you are delivering in the class. Is that going to be achieved by the student? So to me, these are some of the few thoughts that I thought I would share with you. And to me, the most important part is a faculty must align to the changing learning styles of the students, and faculty must keep in mind whatever they design in their pedagogy, the new interventions, the new steps, they must keep the outcomes in mind. Unless the outcomes are kept in mind, our learnings will not be aligned to the purpose. And that is where the biggest gap today comes, the gap between the expectations of the market and the students that are going out of the institutions. So that supply and demand gap is emerging, a gap in skills is emerging because the effectiveness between level 1 and level 4 has not been maintained. So with that, thank you very much for the time that you have given me. I wish you all the best for the program that you have designed and much needed topic, and congratulations once again for this workshop. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Raj Nehruji. Thank you.
Sir, as always, you have beautifully touched probably all the domains of teaching learning, including how teaching should be effective, how learning should be measured with outcomes, and the aspiration of learners. We are quite sure that it will go a long way in the minds of participants and it will guide them in future. With that, now I will take the opportunity to introduce special guest of this program, Dr. Linda Amrane-Cooper. She is a head distance education and director strategic projects from University of London. She is a former dean and head of Glasgow Caledonian University's London campus and dean of Royal Docks Business School at the University of East London. Dr. Linda has over 20 years of online and face-to-face teaching experience at various levels. Her academic and professional career has spanned higher education, teaching, and museum education. Dr. Linda, please present your invited talk.
Thank you, colleagues. Good morning. May you just confirm that you can hear me, please, and see me?
You are audible.
Yeah. Very
Lovely,
nice.
great.
Yes, thank you. Good.
Thank you, colleagues. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here, and my greetings to all the presenters, to the organizers, and of course to the audience. Delighted to be here. It really is a pleasure to meet you electronically, and an honor for me to present at this important and timely event. At the University of London, we are delighted that JC Bose University of Science and Technology is collaborating with us, and we look forward to successful future endeavours. I thought I might share that I'm speaking to you from my home in Chelmsford, England, which was where Marconi was based and where he demonstrated his first radio transmission over 1.5 miles, using the radio receiver designed by JC Bose. So this is a strong connection, and I hope that the internet will allow for that as we go forward. As our previous speakers have said, and as we all know, what is clear is that the future of higher education is going to be different to the one we expected. At the University of London, we have been involved in distance education for over 160 years, providing access to high quality learning for students in almost 190 countries. We have had online as part of our provision for many years, and this has meant that the impact of the pandemic has been fairly minimal in terms of students' online learning experience with us. But their assessment experience has changed very significantly in just 3 months. We have had to move over 110,000 pen and paper exams across 23 time zones to an online format. A format suitable for lockdown conditions, with students being assessed at home, and while we ourselves are working from home from our kitchen tables. It has been demanding, and at this point in the project, we are seeing early success with high rates of completion and students expressing their satisfaction with platforms and approaches we have developed, but there's a long way to go. Colleagues across the continent supporting the learning of those in higher education have had to make rapid moves to support distance education, sometimes through printed materials. We ourselves send out over 250,000 printed learning materials to our students every year. For others, via television and radio, via online provision, television, telephone, and through social media and mobile technologies. And yet still, as was noted before, many students have not been able to access their education at this time. HE students have largely understood that the quality and content have been compromised in this rapid move. But moving forward, as we understand that the new normal may be here to stay for some time, can we please go back to slide 1 rather than going through the slides? Thank you. Back to slide 1. Thanks. I'll ask when I'd like the slides to move forward. Thank you. So to go back to our students are going to expect and deserve better accessible learning opportunities facilitated virtually than many have seen over the last few months. The challenge then is to understand how effective, engaging, active distance education can be facilitated, because that is where the success in distance and virtual education lies. Today, I will offer some thoughts on how we might approach building interactivity into our online programs to foster student engagement and learning. I will draw on my own experience as an academic who has taught in online distance education for over 20 years, teaching physics, social sciences, education and business. I will also draw on the experience of the University of London in this area. I thought the previous presentation, and thank you very much for that, sir, was excellent in setting out some of the challenges. Absolutely, our students are different to how we may have learnt, or many of them are. They are coming with expectations, and they are coming with a desire to interact and be engaged in their learning. What I'm going to focus on in this session is not technological solutions, but to give some thoughts that I may have and some experience I may have in terms of pedagogy and the way in which pedagogy can be used in an online or distance setting. I think it's really important, and perhaps it's a sometimes missed point, that successful pedagogy for virtual environments builds on what we already know about successful learning in face-to-face environments. May I have the first slide, please? So what do we already know about successful learning? I find this meta-review undertaken by one of my colleagues, David Baum, with Eileen Scanlon from the Open University UK, really nicely summarises the key aspects of effective pedagogy, and I hope the slides will be shared with participants later. So we need clear structure and scaffolding, explicit high standards, and, as our previous speakers have mentioned, that important and essential active collaborative learning that sits at the heart of successful course design. Students are rightly concerned with what they are learning, how it relates to the course's intended learning outcomes, and foremost, how the content and activities support them in preparing for assessment and success moving forward. Clarity and structure are important in the design of face-to-face and virtual learning. Designing our courses to build on what students know, provide ample opportunities for application and practice, and importantly, providing students with feedback leads to success. So in the online environment, we aren't necessarily doing what we might do with our face-to-face environment. We aren't perhaps lecturing for 2 hours as we might do in a face-to-face environment with the students coming in to a large lecture theatre, and we're able to share our expertise and structure some interaction. Here, it's different. One of the greatest challenges in online distance learning is ensuring that your students remain engaged and active learners. This needs a bit more thought than face-to-face teaching because, of course, you can't interact so easily with them online, and they cannot interact so easily with their peers. If I could have the next slide, please. Structuring student autonomous learning through the use of topics and building in active learning around key concepts can be a very successful approach. These topic titles are taken from my own program. Building learning activities around key concepts within your weekly topics gives a logical structure. That idea of chunks or micro pieces of content is very important in online. Your students will want to understand the time commitments that are expected for them. For example, how much time will be via video conferencing and how much time is via asynchronous activity. And I would say that this is where the power of online education comes in. They don't have to do everything in front of you in a video Zoom meeting. Creating content and activities for students that can engage in their own flexible time frame around their personal and work commitments allows for the complexities of our new normal to be accommodated more successfully. So let's explore how this can be approached. Next slide, please. When you design your course and the individual topics, I would recommend you consider 4 important aspects. Content. Your role can be thought of as a museum curator, selecting the most appropriate learning resources for your students. Book chapters, journal articles, videos, photos, spreadsheets, animations, virtual experiments, or engineering specifications. Importantly, you don't have to make all of the content from scratch. Secondly, learning activities. Identify useful, appropriate activities at frequent stages with each chunk of content, with each bite-sized piece of content. For example, reading online needs to be brought to life with prompt questions, quizzes, tasks to do. Or as we heard in our previous session, you can do three-way teaching sessions with students connected to each other. Student engagement then is our third important factor. Everything you add to the module, ask yourself if students will be engaged with this. Show the students how their activity is linked to the learning outcomes of the module, to where they want to get, and also how it's linked to success in terms of assessment. And finally, for me, the fourth pillar to successful online education is collaboration. Creating opportunities for your students to share ideas, sample answers, give each other feedback, share information and resources, work together via WhatsApp, social media groups, place-based groups to create a presentation and so on. If I could share one tip, it would be that in online learning, less is more in terms of content. Don't put too much content in, because honestly, our minds wander when looking at a screen. Next slide, please. As you have probably found during the COVID lockdown yourself, it is harder to maintain the rhythm of working when you're on your own, and harder to keep motivation levels high in the absence of peers or our colleagues. So building a sense of being part of an online community is vital for keeping your students engaged. Build a sense of community by constructing collaborative online activities. For example, we ask our students to introduce themselves to each other at the start of every module. And we reach out to them as tutors and lecturers to give them a personal welcome. We are taking interest in them. We're also sharing something about our own personal circumstances and our backgrounds. Here's a couple of examples from my program. But in this discussion forum activity, we use in the second part, in the bottom part of the screen, we use a particular structure for discussion forum activities. So we always tend to use this structure because we find it successful for our students. We identify the purpose of the activity, we explain the task, and we give guidance. We expect them to respond to each other, and we monitor that through the learning analytics. We can see that in our Moodle platform, for example. And we link to the outcome for the activity so that students have a sense of where it sits. It is important to give some guidance to our students when they're working on their own in a distance context in asynchronous learning. So you might want to use word lengths, for example. Produce a piece of writing that's 300, 500 words long. Give them a sense of how many other students they should expect to interact with. And also, you can give them time. You can say this activity should take you an hour, because it then gives them a sense of what they need to do. Importantly, and without a doubt, discussions need real substance if they're going to be worthwhile. So help your learners to develop their ideas through self-reflection before they go online, and provide prompts as the tutor interacting in the asynchronous environment, for example, to trigger their writing or production. Clearly, another big challenge when moving your teaching to virtual formats is managing to keep up with what every student is doing and making sure they get feedback and the support they need. How do we ensure that those students who are very quiet in the discussion forums are really engaged? It is harder in an online environment than in a classroom to judge the interaction and the engagement of your students. But the good news is that there are effective strategies for dealing with this change. Next slide, please. Importantly, don't try to provide all the feedback and learning support yourself. Instead, use a learning cohort approach, whereby you enable learners to support each other. Here are some of the approaches you might choose. So, for example, we might start in the green box with some content. We'll provide an active learning activity where they apply or try out or create in relation to that content. And we use a mantra of learn it, try it, share it. We have lots of choices for how peer and self-learning can be used. Some of the examples I've given here are collaborative activities where students work in groups, perhaps using social media, Facebook links, LinkedIn, to make, create, present. We ensure that there's high levels of formative feedback from peers in discussion threads. So being clear about what the expectations are is very important. What would you like to see in a successful presentation, for example? Number of slides, level of content, etc. Themed discussions with clear expectations are very important, but also providing students with an autonomous opportunities to review and develop their ideas further. Tasks that allow them to work personally on their own, perhaps interacting with you as their tutor, to develop and move themselves forward. Self-evaluation activities, multiple choice quizzes, etc. One of the techniques that we particularly like at the University of London and we find is very successful, and in fact we recently published a paper showing that engagement with peer review does lead to higher academic outcomes, is peer review. And in fact, in Moodle and in most VLEs or learning management systems, there are functions available to allow student work, for example, a short piece of writing to a prompt or a small video, to be anonymously distributed to a set of other students who can then review and feed back anonymously to the original author. By giving a rubric or a structure to how they're going to feed back, and then asking everybody who got feedback to reflect on that feedback and to think about how they could improve their work further, you develop that autonomous, engaged, I'm going to work on my development, what might be called ipsative assessment. I will conclude with one of the significant differences between face-to-face and online mobile learning, in my experience. If I might have the next slide, please. Oh, that's it. Thank you very much. So virtual delivery allows you to tap into the power of asynchronous learning. This event is being recorded. Presumably, some people, we hope, will watch it later on and will be able to gain and have stimulation from this event. So teaching doesn't have to be simultaneous. It doesn't have to be synchronous. And in fact, for myself with students literally on every continent in the world, it's very, very difficult to find a time zone that allows me to have face-to-face sessions through Zoom with my students. So virtual delivery and asynchronous are very important. Active engagement with content, active engagement with peers, formative feedback from peers and tutors can all lead to short, focused video face-to-face or face-to-face in person, we hope eventually, sessions. It's really the model of the flipped classroom that I'm talking about, but through the digital platforms. I would suggest it's important to keep video conferencing teaching sessions short. 45 to 60 minutes is plenty, and avoid overall lecturing or transmission via video conferencing. Make those sessions active And as our previous participant, you can use breakout rooms, etc. In summary then, in designing active online learning in a virtual environment or in a distance environment, use familiar and repeating structures that scaffold your learners. They know what to do each time. They have a sense of how the learning is connected to their outcomes. Spend time at the start of the course for them to get to know each other and you. Build that collaboration. Keep content reasonably limited. I know it's difficult. We all want to say more about what we know, but it is useful to keep content limited and also to draw on content that's been produced by other people. It will save you time. Focus on key concepts and provide content in chunks, building active learning, structured collaboration, and peer feedback around those chunks of learning. Preparing your virtual and online provision may well take you more time than preparing to deliver a lecture series. But as you build the provision, you will start to see the affordances of technology in allowing for active and engaged collaboration between your learners and between you and your learners. I wish you all the very best for the new normal that you may encounter. Thank you very much for the opportunity to contribute today. It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much, ma'am. It was indeed a mesmerizing experience listening to you. You have rightly stressed upon redesigning the course curriculum as per the pedagogies in future, depending upon 4 pillars. That is content, activity, engagement, and collaboration. We are quite sure that with your expert talk, the participants have already been into redesigning the curriculum and it has set the platform for the pedagogies in future. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your valuable time.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Now, I take this opportunity to welcome our next invited speaker, Professor Seema Malik. She is a former head, Department of English, Dean Research and Chairperson, Faculty of Humanities, Mohanlal, Sukhadia University, Udaipur, Rajasthan, India. She is awarded and certified by J. William Fulbright Foreign Scholarship Board and the Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs of the United States, Washington, D.C., USA in the year 2018. She is a receiver of Shane-e-Adab Award by Kafla Intercontinental Writers Association in the year 2016. Professor Malik has supervised 15 doctoral theses and a number of MPhil dissertations. She is a visiting professor to various Indian universities and has delivered presentations in Spain, Australia, USA, and Sri Lanka for the diverse topics. Ma'am, please share your expert views on teaching pedagogies of future. Ma'am, please.
Well, thank you so much. Namaskar to all. At the outset, I would like to thank the host university for having given me this opportunity to share my views with you. My special thanks are due to Professor Grover, who actually gave me this opportunity and invited me to share my views with you. Actually, the topic of this international symposium is very pertinent because this is what we have all been mulling upon ever since we were engulfed with this devouring scenario of COVID-19. But as the former speakers have explicated their views, their suggestions so well, I think nothing much remains to be said in addition to that. But at the same time, I strongly believe that the more discussions take place, it is certainly the deliberations are going to churn out certain viable recommendations, which maybe can later on form some part of or contribute towards the new norm as we have been looking for. And secondly, my focus will be on the Indian context. And I think we can start with sharing the screen now. Should I click it?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, you can share the PPT.
Could you do it for me? I have tried
Sure,
it.
sure, we'll do that. Sure, we'll do that. Rashmi, ma'am, please share the PPT.
Yes, thank you. So I'll be talking about COVID-19 and beyond towards a hybrid pedagogy, which to some extent has already been taken into account by Professor Raj Nehru, and Dr. Linda also has given us many insightful suggestions and things. But anyway, I will be talking of this in terms of pandemic pedagogy. You see, the sudden suspension of physical classrooms, this disrupted the teaching, as the face-to-face teaching was the primary mode, especially in India. However, to meet the situation, we adopted what can be termed as the emergency remote teaching learning mode, and we resorted to the virtual classrooms through Zoom, Google Hangout, WebEx, etc. Now, pursuant to the directions from the UGC and Raj Bhavan, because I'm from Rajasthan and from Udaipur, I'm referring to that as well. Online classes are being conducted. They started well in time and are being conducted meticulously till date. So now the point is that that was what we can say the pandemic pedagogy. And the brighter side of this pandemic pedagogy, as the Vice Chancellor, Honorable Vice Chancellor also referred to it, was that we witnessed the acceleration of technology, no matter under what circumstances, but definitely we have witnessed an acceleration of technology. While on one hand, the transition was rather smooth for the elitist institutes in India and the mainstream universities. We all understand we have our own limitations, like the IITs, the IIMs, etc., and other private premier institutions. For the public institutions, it required a conscious effort to materialize it. But they successfully evolved their strategy towards this sudden transition. And this is something which is really heartening for us, that we have been able to face the situation in the right spirit and in a proper manner. Now, you see, for example, the IITs, when I was talking of the elite or the premier institutes, the IITs had already floated the options like the web and video courses, but they were not being maximally utilized or exploited earlier until COVID-19. Until the lockdown, they were not being exploited. During the lockdown, the students explored and availed the online options because they had no other option. Similarly, I was just looking for certain things and I got to know that National Law University, Delhi, has opened up its course through MOOC for all law institutes in India, through which the students could access study materials and digital resources. So this is one of the strengths of the lockdown or COVID-19. We have always to look towards the brighter side, that people have been generous in sharing. So across the law schools across the country, this material has been made available. Thus, by and large, the universities and institutes evolved a pandemic pedagogy to meet the emergency situation. But for a sustained pedagogy, we have to move from emergency remote teaching to effective online learning, which earlier Shri Raj Nehru also has been referring repeatedly, and which is very important for us to look into. So the transition has to now be from emergency remote teaching, which is the current scenario, COVID-19, to effective online learning, because we cannot even think about going back to the earlier situation. So now we have to make it very, very effective. And this requires a paradigmatic shift from teacher-centric module to student-centric module. Now here, of course, we have to keep in mind that, again, this has already been explained and I've been requested by Mr. Grover not to exceed my time limit. So I will not get into that details, but we primarily understand that teacher-centric module was where the teacher was at the center and was the deliverer of the knowledge or of the topic. But here now it is the participatory mode that we have to take and go into the student-centric module or the model. Thus, it was a blessing in disguise. The reluctance and hesitancy, especially on the part of faculty, had no room. We were left with no choice. This is a given fact that our majority of our faculty, I'm not talking about the technological institutes, I'm not talking about the science and other institutes, but coming from humanities, coming from a traditional university, I must say that it was rather difficult for all the faculty members to switch over to this mode. But since there was no option, they had no option but to adopt and utilize the online education. And as far as the students are concerned, they obviously are more techno-savvy with the smartphones. So the transition for the students was not difficult. Then when we talk about this transition, again, this has already been referred to. I would like to draw your attention to the Digital India vision, which was already going on by the government of India. So in fact, the transition to the digital was already on the move. And when we see what kind of efforts, what kind of measures, and what kind of platforms have already been floated, we have the e-Pathshala, MOOC, National Project on Technology Enhanced Learning, National Academic Depository. So these are primarily the platforms which were already available, but of course were not being exploited maximally. Now, here what I'm talking about is the paradigmatic shift from emergency remote teaching to effective online learning and teacher-centric approach to learner-centric approach. And when we talk of the learner-centric approach, we are talking about primarily 4 things: collaboration, communication, critical thinking, and creativity. Because education is not just about learning the facts, it is also about the training of the mind to think. So now what is the solution? We are not going to the prior to COVID-19 mode, not going to strictly stick to the online mode. So for me, the via media or the viable mode would be towards a hybrid pedagogy. Now, it has to be a blend of tradition and technology. We cannot strictly and suddenly do away with the heritage of the Guru Shishya Parampara. That is our strength of the Indian culture. So we have to blend it. Again, this has also been referred to earlier, but I think we need to emphasize this aspect that we have to go in for a hybrid kind of a system where we blend tradition and technology. Digital educational resources are very important for blended learning. And this already is being done because we are aware of the UGC 2020 drive in which there is a need to integrate the ICT. And I think this is the appropriate time to take the next leap judiciously. And another important point is that we need not ape the developed countries. Rather, we need to improvise as conducive, whatever is conducive to our educational environment. Now, when I talk of the systematic blend, it is the systematic blend of face-to-face teaching with online learning. And say, for example, UGC, of course, has sent a directive that now we have to have 25% online learning and the rest 75 is to be face-to-face. I would rather suggest that it should be a 50-50 kind of a blend. And the online component, again, as Linda has already referred to, the synchronous and the asynchronous mode. We have right now focused more on the synchronous mode because it was a kind of a flipped classroom learning through Zoom videos or WebEx. It was actually the real-time learning and interaction was also real-time. Whereas we have to be more flexible, we have to give them more space. As Mr. Nehru also, Mr. Mehra also pointed out that the youngsters now are, in a different kind of a mindset. They have different kind of exposure and they are have different kinds of expectations. So in that case, we have to be a little more liberal, be student centric, and we should go in for the other mode, which we have not actually utilized much, the asynchronous mode, where students learn in different locations at different times. At self-paced e-learning is there, but we have to give them a given, a time frame. Within a time frame, they can work aside. Now, again, the hybridity, if we talk of the blending, at what level can it be done? It can be done at the program level, it can be done at the course level. This is to be devised very specifically as per the program or the course. Of course, there is a problem when we come to the practical and skill components, and that has to be revised at the institutional levels. I'm not from the science stream, but our university is also working towards the e-labs, the virtual labs, and there was a huge list of virtual labs that we got. So probably that could be one of the options. Now, this is a slide that I borrowed from one of the educational specialists of e-learning. Sanjay Mishra, he has actually given us the seed towards the synchronous. Can you all hear me, please? We have the synchronous as well as the asynchronous, and we can likewise divide the actual hours, and then proceed, which is live online interaction and student participation in group discussions. Again, this was also referred to the various modes which we can use when we are going online teaching. So these are the things that can be looked into. And now, a very significant point is that of attitudinal shift. There are mental hurdles. Let me state this very clearly, that we as teachers, while the students today are very receptive, but we as teachers are a little reluctant to move forward. It is understandable enough, but then we have to bring about an attitudinal shift. I was looking for certain things when I got to know about this elitist flirtation. This phrase was, floated. By this, I think it was meant that this small stint that we had during the COVID of the online teaching classes and all that was rather an elitist flirtation. And the pretext was that of the digital divide. And I think we need to understand and we need to accept that whenever we go forward towards a new kind of a process, definitely we are going to face a number of challenges and we need to meet them out. The digital divide is, of course, a very, very prominent obstacle, especially coming from the students coming from the rural area, definitely have a lot of problem. But then that is a thing which we need to look into, and we are working towards it. So we have to be quite optimistic and positive towards this, rather than calling it a kind of an elitist flirtation where we can say that only the elite institutes or the metropolitans have been able to do. I'm very proud to say that Udaipur, it is not a metro, but of course not a rural area as well. But we have been able, very, very successfully been able to continue with these. Then when we talk of the change in the mindset, I've just referred to. Another important thing is the teacher capacity. That is the key. Now that has to be monitored and that has to be enhanced, because especially for teachers who have not grown up in that kind of environment, we need to look into all these things and create an enabling atmosphere and environment and adopt an adaptive approach. Now, coming to the challenges, as I've just referred to, we have to tackle the digital divide and we have to evolve the learning management systems. Again, some things have already been done, but they are not up to the mark, and we need to evolve the learning management systems. And we need to, again, look for the inclusive e-learning solutions. And I emphasize the word inclusive because that is very important. If some part of India remains marginalized and is not included into the e-solutions, then our drive towards e-learning would not be really successful. Stable IT infrastructure, IT training to faculty. And again, another important thing is the quality assurance mechanism needs to be evolved, because we have so many courses being floated today. So there has to be a mechanism where we can grade the courses and accordingly we can allot the merit, whatever the system we may evolve. Then democratization of technology is also very important. We need to look into this. And again, coming from an institute where we are catering to the tribal students who are primarily Hindi speaking students, I think we need to work towards this, where the medium of instruction for e-learning needs to be evolved and needs to be delivered in Hindi. I think this would be a very good advancement if we are able to make. Then another important aspect that I was looking into was we need to modify the evaluation system, which of course has not been so far referred to, which needs to be taken note of. We have actually been focusing on the performance vis-a-vis the 3R examination. We need to delimit the evaluation on the basis of the written exam. We need to conduct online examinations. There are proctorial tools. Again, it is, see, when we are moving online for 50% of teaching, we are, depending primarily on the IT support. So the proctorial tools also are to be evolved, and there are certain private agencies who are already providing such facilities. And then when we talk of the evaluation system, we can talk about the alternate methods of assessment through projects, fieldworks, and seminars, which we are already doing, and we can enhance them further. Then another important thing that I felt was that we need to create a viable and resilient ecosystem for teaching and learning in all faculties. Now, ecosystem is an all-comprehensive term which involves all the aspects. And again, the exploit power of technology to enable learning. Now, this is what we need to think about, is that one size fits all kind of an approach is not going to be viable anymore. We have to be flexible, and we have to keep the local needs in mind and then proceed accordingly. A very interesting point was mentioned by Shri Raj Mehra, and he said that whatever learning that we are doing online or otherwise, we need to integrate with the local needs of the community, which is a very, very good suggestion, and we need to be which we need to implement. I might just add that there's a project which has been undergrad as well as at the postgraduate level called Anandam. It is the joy of giving. It is actually what we call community services. So joy of giving, or the Anandam, is one of those things which can be taken up in a big way. And finally, I would say that this is the ideal time to experiment, widen the horizons, and deploy latest technological tools in conjunction with the traditional classroom teaching. And we need to, of course, focus upon equity, excellence, and expansion. And this is what I mean by hybrid pedagogy, which we need to evolve in a very, very systematic manner. And we need not be regressive about it. Once the lockdown is over, we need not resort back to the classroom, physical classroom teaching. This is an opportunity which has already given us a training. Barring the elitist institutes, others were not adopting this kind of mode. So this is what I consider to be the silver lining in the devouring atmosphere of COVID-19. Thank you so much. And I hope I've stuck to the time limit. I wish you all a very healthy and happy day. Please. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for setting up the tone for hybrid pedagogies involving tradition with the technology, and also stressing upon the need for a stable IT infrastructure to deliver pedagogies in future. With that, now I would like to introduce Dr. Mohit Gambhir, Innovation Director, MHRD's Innovation Cell. Sir has done PhD in computer engineering and is expert in intellectual property rights. Sir has instrumental role in key initiatives of Government of India, such as Smart India Hackathon, Institute Innovation Councils, ARIIA rankings, National Innovation and Startup Policy, etc., etc. He is a trainer at LEAP, a program by MHRD, Government of India, and also a board member of 5 incubation centers across the country, and has 6 patents either filed or granted to his credit. Sir has multiple accolades from Honorable Minister of HRD, Governor of Rajasthan, Honorable CM of Gujarat, and Governor of Goa. Sir, please deliver your expert talk.
Thank you so much for giving this opportunity. And I would like to thank Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, and Professor Grover, that they have made this beautiful program and whole planning has been done, and also given an opportunity to me for share my thoughts. I would also like to wish Chief Guest of today, Shri Raj Nehru ji, and my fellow speakers, Dr. Linda, Professor Seema, and Mr. Agarwal as well. I believe almost all the speakers before me, they have highlighted that what is required, what is to be done, where are we sitting, that is the new normal, the latest technologies which we are going on. So just to summarize, if I say, it's like that future learning, it will be more personalized, it will be AI based, it will be virtual, it will be collaborative, and many more. But if I deliberate and if I recall, I believe it was year 2002 or 3, somewhere around 17, 18 years ago. I used to teach PG classes at CDAC Noida, along with my research as well. That time as well, we used to have a tool which now many of you are aware of by the name Moodle. 18 years ago, the tool was like we used to have our class organized, we have our PowerPoint presentations uploaded. Students, they can see, they could have remarked, pointed out and whatnot. But the point was at that time, it was working, it used to work on LAN, that is the local network. It was not on any cloud base or not kind of internet base like we are looking at today. So Moodle itself has evolved, I believe, a long way, providing a lot of actions, a lot of theory and a very heavy LMS base out of it, and curation has been done a lot. And the bottom line is it's an open source tool. Now moving further, if I say that whether all these things have evolved today, as I gave an example of Moodle, I must say pretty much almost everything was existent. As Honorable Vice Chancellor sir also pointed out, even Nehru ji also pointed out. Only thing is we are looking at a new normal or maybe a kind of a blended learning. We need to deliberate a lot many things. Teachers out there, the faculty members, they must gear up, to unlearn to learn new things. The way we were teaching rather, it has taken a typical toss. It has gone out of the court, if I say out of the stadium. We used to have that kind of physical interactions, calling in 50, 60 students, interacting day in, day out. And then this challenge evolved and we came in. So it's like in my other webinars as well, I tell everyone, grab the opportunity, but never become an opportunist. And it's been quoted as an "Afsar hai pehchaniye afsarvadita ko mat afsarvadita ke piche mat bhagiye." So in a very similar manner, like I said, teachers, they need to unlearn and then learn the new pedagogies, what is going around, how we have to move on. A lot of quality content is required. Now, what do I mean by that? Content immensely available. I believe since the lockdown period, if you guys must have observed, tons and thousands of videos and the content that has been uploaded. It's there on YouTube. You just type a title, you will receive, I believe, more than 1,000 videos on that. Now the challenge moving forward further, it will be the quality content. Whom to follow, which to follow. So are we looking at some gradation mechanism for these courses, or are we looking at some evaluation mechanism for these courses as well? I believe certainly yes. In very near future, we have to. Otherwise, it will open a Pandora box altogether. It will become, it will lead us to nowhere. It will become haywire. But as in, we say, there was a concept known as homeschooling. Yes, many of you must be aware of. People or the school students, they used to get the homeschooling, even Cambridge education and international baccalaureate education. They do have homeschooling kind of concept. Even our Indian education system, they have allowed students, many people in across the cities in India, they have their kids homeschooled even before this pandemic came in. But now, again, can we just look around and say that our UG, PG education started becoming like home college kind of a concept? Whereby I like to highlight virtual universities concept. Even before pandemic struck us, if you guys look back, if you guys, last year's scenario in United States, couple of universities, they went for sale because there were huge drop in the admissions. Why? At that time, there was no pandemic, but already this kind of online education, it started knocking the doors off. Are we in India sitting at that? I believe that is a distant far off, because one thing this pandemic has actually taught us, we cannot live by pure play a virtual world. We cannot live maybe in a pure play the way we were going on. So as rightly pointed by my previous speakers, it has to have a blended learning, maybe 70-30. Students, they might be coming to college for more interactions, more socializing. And when I say this, I believe I recall a tweet done by Elon Musk in December 2019, whereby he mentioned that colleges are basically for fun and not for learning, and it created a huge uproar. Many people, they agreed, many people don't. But I believe coming to the current scenario, it may or may not be true. We need to actually look into. In Indian perspective, if we go by indigenous, we have to have a blended culture. We have to have teachers, faculty members, they have to play a much bigger role. By much bigger role, I want to say, or I want to highlight that they have to act as a facilitator, not just like a decision maker. We, the teaching fraternity, we have to come up to that level that yes, we can facilitate what our student is asking for, what our student is demanding for. Now again, going back to the scenario, if I look back our Gurukul Shiksha Parampara, whereby there was a guru and a handful of students, but it was more of a personalized learning. Many years ago, our Indian culture, we used to follow that. So is it something that we are again moving on with the technology, the latest or maybe the millennial Gurukul Parampara? I don't know, maybe yes. Because, like in health, AI has played a big role. Very soon we are going to have customized, or we have in some countries, customized profiling, customized medication requirements. Near future, just maybe in few months or maybe in 2021, we might be looking at customized learning. Many portals, many companies, they have already started providing that they make profile of an individual, they provide that what at all is required. But as an individual, I'm still a little bit skeptical, I'm a bit afraid, and I don't have any answer whether that will be true, that will happen, how much machine will govern our future. But on the contrary, I believe our gurus, they have to play an immense role, a responsibility, a huge responsibility lies on their shoulders, that they have to guide the students in a manner, along with the technology, along with the AI stuff, they have to supplement it. Many stages, many platform people say technology is there to supplement us. I say technology is okay, it is fine. We need to supplement it. We need to handhold our students, our wards in a manner that we can truly become a stronger economy in the coming years to come by. As also I move forward, I believe many questions have also been raised about the tribal education and other stuff. It is an immense challenge where students, they do not have internet connectivity, where they do not have gadgets with them. So I'm sure you guys must have again heard of that through governments and television channels, dedicated television channels, they have been launched, and multilingual in Hindi as well. The best part of it would be, again, if you ask me, being a parent, we will be doing away with security issues, privacy issues, and attacks, many other things. For teachers, again, we have, the platforms we have existing platforms like Swayam, NPTEL, they have evolved in a big way. And the traction during these lockdown period, it has jumped, I believe, thrice and or maybe more than 5 times. We used to see the turning around ratio of the faculty members to learn new courses. But having said that yes, they have learned new courses, delivery mechanisms. Challenge would be not all teaching faculty or not all faculty members, they are IT savvy. They don't have even access. So it's as Professor Seema, she was highlighting, elitist. That's what I say. It's been like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 towns that few faculty members, they would be having access or the knowledge on how to perform. So again, a lot of courses, a lot of deliberation has to be done. How to bring non-tech or the other faculty members who are not that tech savvy, that how can we bring them on board, that yes, you need to take this thing forward. Another important point which I want to touch and maybe talk to faculty members out here, that the projects or the innovation which I primarily lead here, that what they are about to do now, how they have to move forward. So a genuine suggestion and an advice over here from myself is, we need to look for perpetual projects. By perpetual, I mean that we need to look for projects which go on for a longer duration, which actually turn up into startups, maybe into some entrepreneurial experience for the students, like your final year student work on something and then they move out, and when they get something out of it, if they may take it and open a startup, and they, maybe their next generation can come up and work on. So this is again going to be a near future. Faculty members would have, they have to devote more time on innovation, research along with, because utilizing the tools, technology, one teacher, I believe they can take class of 250 or 500 students at a one go as well. But assessments and all these things, still they need to be asked on. They still is a challenge. And as I believe I have already been pointed out and been suggested by Professor Grover to curtail the talk, I would like to sum up, and with the permission of all the guests and the fellow colleagues, I would like to use COVID in a new terminology as altogether, or maybe in a different sense altogether, give it a different perspective. The definition, I believe, for our education, COVID stands for integration of conventional, open, virtual, internet-based, and the distance learning. I believe, thank you so much. And I'd like to sum up here. Thanks for providing the opportunity. All the very best to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for giving an insight to the future pedagogies and stressing upon using AI applications in delivering course content, and also defining COVID in terms of the pedagogies. Thank you very much, sir. Talking about AI applications, we can't have a better speaker than Mr. Sanjeev Agarwal ji, who is a country manager in AI applications from IBM Singapore. Sir is a former regional head at HP Singapore. He has done his MBA from University at Buffalo School of Management, the State University of New York. He has done Masters of Science from National University of Singapore and Bachelor of Engineering from IIT Roorkee. He has more than 35 years of experience and has held multiple leadership roles in organizations like ST Microelectronics and L&T Limited. I request you to please deliver your invited talk, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I'm just wondering, how do I show my screen? Could you guide me with that?
Sanjeev, help him to share the screen.
Sir, go for the share screen. That's at the bottom.
Yes.
So just by clicking that, it will show your desktop and you can choose any page where
okay, I got it.
All right,
Yeah.
so it is showing, sir.
Okay. So good afternoon from Singapore. I'm so excited to be here today. Thanks to...
Good afternoon, Agarwal Saab. बहुत शुक्रिया आपका that you could come here, and we really welcome you from Singapore. Thank you very much.
I truly appreciate your welcome, and I'm so excited and truly privileged to be here with you all. And I thank JC Bose University leadership team and my fellow alumni, Ashbir Singh, who invited me to give this talk. as Shri and myself, we come from the same University of Roorkee. In those days, it was known as University of Roorkee, and now we have changed it to IIT Roorkee. And one of my ex-professors was actually involved in getting it converted in early 2000. So I think that's a good change. So when Ashwir approached me to give this talk, I was wondering, I've never been a professor, I've never worked in an institution. So what should be the best way to convey my thoughts? So I actually looked at my own experience for over 35 years and, what we do in the industry, how we learn, and how I have learned over time. So I thought I'll share how the learning and skills development happen from the industry perspective. So that is the topic of my discussion today. The agenda that I have chosen for this talk, I would like to share with you what are the key challenges that is faced by the industry and what changes are happening, what kind of people we prefer and what kind of people we develop, and how people want to learn in the digital age. I think a lot of this is already covered by other speakers who have already spoken. Then I would like to share how the learning portal of IBM looks like and how do we make use of it in our day-to-day learning. The other topic which has become very, very important today's time is about people skill. And what we find is that people skills are becoming more important in today's time and even more important than the digital skills. I will also share some technology that are being used by us in remote working and conducting virtual workshops internally as well as externally with our clients and our partners. And then I would like to share some of my own recommendations to the higher education institutions like yours and conclude my presentation. So let me share what is happening in the industry, okay? And what you see here is that based on the data that we have collected over time, only 70% of the companies who are really performing very well in the market, they understand how important the skills are and the importance of continuous investment in the skills of their people. But interestingly, only 41% of the companies report that they have the right people skills required to execute the business strategy. The other challenge that we find is, that we have seen, one is that the technology is changing at a very, very fast scale. It has never happened, at such a speed in the past. If I have to give you an example, right? Now, we all drive cars, and just imagine, how much cars have become technology driven. Okay, I was reading that in a high-tech car today's time, there are 100 million lines of software code. So just imagine that, an automotive engineer is not just coming with a background of mechanical engineering, electrical engineering anymore. You need technologists with semiconductor knowledge, with software development knowledge to work in the automotive industry to address such challenges. There's a fierce competition of talent. Every company wants to pay and want to attract the best talent they can get from the market. The lifespan of the technology has decreased from 30 to 3 years. I remember when I came out of the college and joined Larsen Toubro through a campus interview, and I was working in a shop floor, machine shop, and the works manager of the shop floor called me. So one day he said, "Sanjeev, are you an engineer?" And I'm wondering, why is he asking such a question? And then he said, "Sanjeev, go and practice and learn all the machines that we have in the shop floor. And it will take you at least 2 years to appreciate and understand, what engineering is all about." And that was true. When I started to spend time in the shop floor and try to understand the complexity of the shop floor, I realized that what I learned in I would say a reputed university like University of Roorkee, those they are IIT today, I had to again start my new learning in the industry, to really experience and understand how things are done. And I think we have talked a lot about how the changes are happening. People are working remotely, both from the learning perspective as well as how the companies are doing their business. I recently read that TCS, one of the biggest IT company in the country on a global basis today, 75% of their employees will work permanently from home. That is a commitment they have given to the people and to the industry. By 2025, that is the change they will make. In IBM, at this point of time, we have 95% of our employees working from home. So this is a huge change that is happening in the industry as a whole, and how we work, how we interact with people, how we conduct ourselves online, all these different etiquettes that we have to learn. A lot of knowledge is being developed in this area, and trying to figure out how we move forward in this new world. Of course, consumer expectations are changing because of digitalization. And lastly, the gig economy, which means that people are changing their roles, their association with the company very frequently. So that's another challenge that we in the industry have to face and address it. So skills are becoming a new competitive currency, as we said. The next topic that I would like to share is about what we call a T-shaped professional. As you see here, the source of this page is Harvard University website. And the way they define is the T-shaped individuals are the people who have depth in one or two areas of knowledge, but they also have the breadth to collaborate and innovate across different disciplines. And these are the kind of people who are highly valued in the industry because they are the people who can collaborate, they can work with other expertise, with the people of other skills very well, and develop value for our clients. And this is also very valuable in the higher education, as you see, where faculty and students are always trying to find new ways of the use of technology. How do they collaborate, do research, access information, and share knowledge? Now, if you have to define what is a T-shaped professional, a T-shaped professional is consisting of depth. Depth, it means what you are known for. Okay, if somebody says what is your expertise, so this is how you define your expertise. Then the breadth, as I mentioned previously, is about your skill and your appreciation of other areas of knowledge so that you can collaborate and develop new products, new services. And what brings the unique value is when we combine the two together. And that is how the people who develop such a T-shaped skill are the one who thrive on a long-term basis. Today, I was reading the newspaper in Singapore, and the Straits Times is our national newspaper. And as you see here, this is the news that is published today. Where they are saying is Nanyang Polytechnic, which is one of the large and famous polytechnic in Singapore. I can tell you, polytechnics in Singapore are very, very, very well resourced, both in terms of teaching and equipment and so on. And they have decided that they will change completely the teaching approach. They want to bring the teaching based on projects, it involving several subjects, the way employees in the industry experience the work and as well as learn. As you see here, they will develop the new curriculum, which breaks down subject boundaries and bring industry even closer to them. And the chief executive of the Polytechnic has asked all the staff, she says, I asked my team to free themselves and start on a blank state to reimagine the possibilities of teaching and learning. Next, I would like to touch upon a survey that we did of our own employees in IBM. And there are 6 guiding principles that we developed from the surveys in terms of how we find our employees want to learn. And I think this is very much applicable also in higher educational institutions based on what I have heard so far. The first thing that we found is that the learners want to control the learning themselves, okay? They want to learn from the courses where the content is available at all times. It can be personalized and it is bite-sized. When I say bite-sized, I was reading that when we are doing online teaching or online learning, the attention span is 20 minutes. So the teaching has to be done in small chunks. The learners want to handpick in terms of what they want to learn. The second guiding principle that we find is that the learning has to be practiced. It has to be practiced through case studies and through projects, and that is what brings the confidence of the learning among the learners. This is how the learning can be more effective, can be made effective. The third thing is that the learners want to talk about the learnings in today's time socially. They want to be recognized by their friends, by the peers, by the fellow students, in your context, both inside the institution as well as outside the institution. Okay. So what we do is when we have people learn, you want to give them badges. Now, this is not just happening in our company in IBM. It is also happening in many other companies, as you see an example here of AWS. And then we as employees of the companies are taking these badges and showing them on LinkedIn, showing them on Facebook. And that also enhances our professional esteem socially. The next is about people learn by recommendations. So my manager, my mentor, my colleagues, my friends, if they make a recommendation to me, I have a high propensity that I will go and explore that learning content. The next, I would like to share with you that today the learning is not happening only from one source. People are exploring multiple external sources. And based on the data that we have collected, we find some of the names that you see here, like Coursera, like Skillsoft, Udemy, YouTube, and I was actually myself surprised that YouTube is one of the biggest source of providing the learning content. Okay, of course, Google and Safari and so on these are the commonly used external source of information and learning content. And the sixth guiding principle that we have developed for ourselves based on this survey is about that people want to have a goal-oriented learning. Okay, they want to define what they want to do in their roles, what is their career plan, and they want to be guided upon what should be my roadmap of learning, what should I learn next. Now here is how our learning management system looks like. The name that we have given to it is your learning, because this is my learning as a student or as an employee in my own company. As you see here, I have spent 28 hours learning in this first few months of the year. I earned 6 badges. Okay. Then it says what are the different subscriptions that I have in terms of my learning channels. What is in the queue? Required learning is what I must learn to perform my role effectively. And then what kind of learning I have completed. Okay. And of course, the system also makes a recommendation in terms of what I should learn, what badges I should be earning in the future, okay, and what are the hot roles and skills, and so on. Now, here are the examples on the same learning portal that you see here, okay? Like there are different hot roles, as we call them, like architect, cloud engineer, data scientist, and so on. So if I click on architect, you will see what are the recommended badges and learnings that the system is suggesting that if I have to perform my role as an architect and as IT architect, what kind of courses I should be taking, what are the badges that I should be learning. And within these badges, you see level 1, level 2, level 3 kind of badges. So as I grow my expertise, I can qualify from level 1 to level 2 to level 3 badges. And then I can use these badges, as I mentioned in the past, to even display them on the social media to enhance my profile. The next set of skills that we ask our employees to develop, of course, one cannot be an expert in every industry, but they should pick an industry of their choice and then pick up the courses to have a good appreciation of the industry. If I give an example, like on the next page, automotive industry skills, again, there are recommended badges. Okay, there are recommended courses depending on the level of learning. As you see here, we have 4 levels of badges here: bronze, silver, gold, platinum. You start as a beginner as a bronze, but when you become a thought leader, you're given a platinum badge. When you become an expert, you're given a gold badge. And then there is a list of courses. Of course, I can't display all the courses here, but these are different courses that the learner should go through. And by the way, these courses are not just you complete the course and you are done with. You even have to appear for quizzes and exams to pass in these different courses. And then we can attain the badge. And then we can declare ourselves as a beginner all the way to thought leader. The next, I would like to share with you the importance of people skills. When we talk of people skills, as you see here, again, based on a lot of data that we have collected from the industry, we have a think tank, we call it IBM Institute of Business Value. We had interviewed more than 2,000 CEOs of different companies, of different industries. And as you see here, they say, this is coming from the CEOs, that people skills are surpassing in importance the digital skills. And the people who have the right skills will make the difference and have an impact on the business. And similarly, a report from McKinsey, where we talk about the importance of social and emotional skills. And it will continue to grow all the way till 2030. In my own personal experience, let me highlight a few skills which I thought of very, very high importance. In my first job, I moved from Roorkee to work in Orissa in Larsen Tubro factory. When I reached there, I never come out of northern part of India, but when I reached there, I found totally in a different world within my own country. And I could see that how important it is to understand the cultures of different regions and how to be successful in relating and working with the people of different cultures. Similarly, when I came to Singapore, when I worked for ST Microelectronics, I remember our HR used to take pride in saying that we have people from 34 nationalities working in our plant. And you can understand that the challenge in terms of integrating people of so many cultures and different countries to achieve the business goals of the company. So it's very, very important that we pay attention to work in different cultural settings and understand each other to achieve our goals. The other things from the other thing which I even tell my children is very, very important is communication. Both the verbal communication, the written communication is of extreme importance. The people who I've seen as successful in the corporate world are the people who can speak very well publicly. And public speaking, good verbal communication, very precise written communication has made them successful. Presentation skill is another thing that I would like to highlight. When I say presentation skill, is not about how well you make a presentation of your PowerPoint. When I say presentation skills, it's about how you conduct yourself, how you conduct yourself in a meeting, how you conduct yourself when you talk to people within the organization, outside the organization, how you dress yourself, so all these things come together for you to create your presence in the minds of people. And lastly, I would like to highlight, as you see here, we have a huge effort right now going in the company to talk about mindfulness. As somebody pointed out, that the health of our students, as we just talked about, similarly, the health of our employees in the companies, given that they are all working from homes, there's not physical interaction that you expect in the office, where I can get some time and have some coffee with my colleague. The mental health has become very, very important in the minds of management, and therefore we are taking active measures, active actions to train our employees on mindfulness, to make sure that our mental healths, are very well maintained. And here I would like to share the kind of tools that we are using to cover different aspects of the business. We are using Zoom today. Similarly, we are making use of Zoom, WebEx, Skype. We are for doing workshops, brainstorming. We have tools like Mural, Think Tank. For doing projects, tools like Trello, Zira, and so on. And of course, Box Online is very, very important for sharing the files and sharing the content. So with this, I would like to conclude by sharing some of my recommendations. Of course, in the university setting, classroom trainings are very, very important. Of course, teacher is the center in the classroom, sharing the knowledge with the students. But as we spoke, what is becoming important is the incorporation of online learning through a good learning management system. What I believe is also very important is that there has to be a formal mentoring program for each student. And I would extend this to not just students, but also to faculty, because faculty also have to go through a huge change. So my recommendation is that find guides for students from the faculty, from the industry, and there are programs. There are programs available on a global basis, as well as I'm sure in India there will be many programs to help provide mentoring both the students and the faculty. The next is, my recommendation is that in different departments, different other institutions, different labs, a lot of good things are happening. A lot of good content is being built. I would highly recommend that there is a lot of cross sharing of knowledge and content, and therefore leveraging partners both internally and externally is of huge importance. And lastly, develop immersive, personalized learning experiences, both for students, not just students, but also for researchers, given that we're talking about higher education institutions. For the faculty, have personalized learning paths developed for them, make use of technologies such as AI. And of course, I love it, and I would highly recommend that this digital badging and certification and using them for recognition on social media should be highly encouraged. And let me close my presentation by sharing what I found written in our Sanskrit scriptures. Possibly somebody developed this thousands of years back. Acharya, his teacher, path is 1/4. So you learn 1/4 from the teacher. As Samay Vidhai means you learn using your own intelligence 1/4. And then 1/4 from the classmates, and 1/4 with the experience over time. I think that this is very much applicable even in today's time, bringing these 1/4 of teacher, your own use of your own intelligence, your classmates, experience is what will make us successful in the future. Thank you so much. With this, I conclude my presentation. And I once again would like to thank JC Bose University, the Vice Chancellor, and the leadership team of the university to give me the opportunity to share my thoughts today.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, you yourself and an institution, just looking at the various skills, it automatically sets the tone for how education should be shaped in future. We again thank you, sir, for making aware the participants about the challenges and new norms in the industry and how one should be self-motivated for online learning through various available platforms. We once again thank you, sir, for your valuable time. Now, I take this opportunity to request Dr. Kumar Bhatia, Dean Informatics and Computing. Along with that, Dr. Neelam Duhan, who is a nodal officer in Digital India Cell of JC Bose University of Science and Technology, to deliver a talk on digital learning management system, our own university initiatives. Sir and ma'am, please.
Thank you, Sanjeev. I have kept my video off due to some network problem. So am I audible here?
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir, audible.
Okay. Then let me start. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for organizing team to invite for this talk. And today I, along with Dr. Neelam Duhan, will present a talk on digital reform in higher education landscape during COVID-19 pandemic and the actions which are taken by the university during this time. So this is the outline of the our presentation. You can see it, COVID-19 impact on higher education landscape, new normals in the higher education landscape, and then with the ICT infrastructure of the university and digital learning management system developed by university by its own. So the COVID-19 pandemic brought unexpected disruption to the higher education landscape, with the campuses closing everywhere over the night. The speed with which the faculty members and students are making the shift to remote teaching are amazing and unparalleled. In this situation, academic communities supported each other by communicating through online networks and sharing knowledge to keep the universities running. So there are some impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic on the higher education. The first is the impact on the faculty. Faculty got very little time to process the sudden changes affecting their professional and personal life. Professionally, faculty has to transform face-to-face classes by using online delivery, teaching by new methodologies, finding new ways to support and inspire the students. Personally, while concerned about the health of their families, faculty had to become school teachers for their own children. Students had also similar type of concerns about their personal health and family health, but were sent back to their homes from their hostels. Neither the students nor the teachers were prepared for the sudden lockdown. It has become very difficult to continue as per the academic schedule, and this has created a gap in teaching learning process, and it needs to be tackled on the priority basis. Many companies are withdrawing jobs and internship offers after being negatively impacted by the COVID-19, and students are even fighting to get their industrial internships. It is normal for the faculty members to undergo stress because of uncertainty they are facing. Not be able to carry on with set routine has further added to their anxiety and their mental health. Moreover, higher education institutes suddenly need to invest huge amount of the money to establish technology-enabled teaching learning framework. This is the problem with most of the private institutions, as they hesitate to spend more money during the time of recession to build the technical infrastructure. So now fundamentally two questions arises. What are the cost of these short-term responses for students and the faculty? What will be the higher education landscape look like after the COVID-19. Therefore, as per my knowledge and concern, some of the new normals are being introduced that can solve at least few concerns in the higher education landscape. So the new normals, as per my understanding, is that will be the blended learning. There is a great prospect to develop new forms of blended learning. There was already a growing demand for more flexible and blended forms of learning beyond traditional education in order to address the need to upskill and reskill for the digital economy. We will see a significant thrust towards blended learning in future. Next is the personalized learning using artificial intelligence. Introduction of artificial intelligence could bring significant opportunities to higher education. Today's colleges and universities face a wide range of challenges, including disconnected students, high drop rates, and ineffectiveness of the traditional approach to the teaching. But when big data analytics and artificial intelligence are used correctly, personalized learning experiences can be created, which may turn into in turn help to the students to resolve the challenges. Next is the machine learning enabled MOOCs. MOOCs empowers teachers and students in remote areas to learn themselves with the latest knowledge, as suggested by the Sanjeev Agarwal sir. Artificial intelligence and machine learning can be used to outline a student's qualities and shortcomings. Individual learning rates can be planned, computed, and analyzed by using these new technologies. Next is the chatbots for personalized help and guidance in academic area also. Recently, some university in Spain began testing an AI-enabled chatbot to answer students' query about their campus and area of studies. Their administration was surprised to find that it was able to answer 38,000 questions of the student with a performance of 90% performance. Not only was that chatbot able to provide immediate results to the students outside the regular office hours, but university officials also found that the chatbot increased the students' motivation. Next new normal is the examination and grading of the student. Artificial intelligence can help teachers deal with the assessment, evaluating, paper setting, making mark sheets, tracking the performance of the students. With these tasks made simple, they will also be able to concentrate more on the course improvement, teaching quality, aptitude development. Artificial intelligence frameworks will also move examinations and scoring system to go increasingly digital, with the role and discretion of the examiner reducing these things. So lot of challenges in the field of education and learning in the weeks, months, and years to come. JC Bose University of Science and Technology, YMCA Faridabad, is also moving towards changes during this period of time. And some of the changes in the online education are already achieved during this lockdown period. Dr. Neelam Duhan, Nodal Officer, Digital India Cell of the University, will explain these changes which we have adopted during this COVID time. Thank you. Dr. Neelam, you can move.
Thank you, Komal Bhatia sir. A very good afternoon to all the delegates and distinguished gathering present here. So I'll talk about how COVID-19 crisis has boosted the digital learning, and there is a need to revamp the education system in the current scenario. Now, what are the digital reforms which have come up? The outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic has created the immediate and unprecedented challenges in the field of education. Around 185 countries around the globe have implemented or announced the closure of schools and universities. In this situation, the concept of education has changed overnight. The digital learning has emerged as an indispensable resource for education. The education sector is leveraging Google Classroom, Microsoft Education, and conferencing apps like Zoom, WebEx, Jitsi, and Teams, etc. To ensure the sustainability of learning, the Ministry of Human Resource Development, MHRD, has also released a list of key digital platforms like Diksha, Atal Innovation Center, Atal Tinkering Lab, and the virtual labs to tinker from home, and many more to name. Now, I can say that we are now ready for digitization. No, we are not. Actually, we at the university, we were already ready with the digitization. And how it was possible, we were ready with the infrastructure before the COVID also. We have the Wi-Fi campus with 1 Gbps LAN, 1 Gbps speed, and the LAN connected infrastructure. We have now replaced the conventional digital boards by the smart digital boards. Already 7 digital boards have already been installed in our university. Our university has also installed 13 digital interactive panels in various departments funded by MHRD. Our university is the only institution in Haryana being selected for this funding. Our university has additionally installed 3 digital interactive panels in various offices for the student or official related activities like seminar and the presentation, etc. Now we are also having the facility of Swayam Prabha at 2 places in the reach of the students. Now, it was a teamwork when we installed the digital interactive panels in the 13 classrooms of our university to make them fully digital. Again, the installation of digital notice boards, now they have facilitated the student to reach to all the notices digitally. Now, what are the various digital learning initiatives in our university? I will also have a talk on this. Now, what are our initiatives? Now, our university is the national local chapter on Swayam NPTEL platform. And on this, our university has top 10 rank among us, the 3,000 local chapters in the last 2 years. Now, in the academic curriculum, we have also implemented the credit transfer policy so that we can transfer the credits to the students who are learning or who are enhancing their skills through the massive open online courses present on the Swayam platform. Now, as per the AICTE mandates, our teachers are also motivated for the online learning and they are doing it on the Swayam platform. Now, our university has also our own e-library portal where lakhs of e-resources and e-journals are present. Even our faculty members, they are also contributing in the MOOC development so that they can basically transfer their teaching to the whole country. As Komal Bhatia sir told, that our university, most of the universities are hesitating in investing more on the digital platforms and in this recession time. And also as told by Dr. Sanjeev Agarwal sir, that we have to stress upon our LMS. And in this direction, we also work and we have developed our own DLMS, Digital Learning Management System. I'll also talk upon this. Now these, I want to show you some of our awards. Now, these are the NPTEL awards which we gained AAA grade in the last 2 years. Now, these were our initiatives that we developed a digital learning management system by a team of teachers and students during March 2020. Now, this DLMS was capable or is capable to sustain the teaching learning process through the content sharing, discussions, announcement forums, testing platforms, and the internal assessment features. Now, during this COVID period, all the internal assessments of our students, all the internal tests, they were taken through our in-house digital learning management system. Now, again, as told by Dr. Mohit Gambhir sir, that the non-tech faculty should also be taught on the digital platforms. Now, in this direction, most of our teachers, approximately 90%, were also trained in blended teaching learning and digital pedagogies by IIT Bombay IDP Center on the Swayam platform to better utilize our digital interactive panels. I think this way our teachers have become more technical, tech savvy. Now, I'll show you how our digital learning management system is working. So this is the home screen of our digital learning management system. The various quick links present on the digital learning management system, login and other features. Now, this is the dashboard. Now, on the dashboard, all the students of my class Suppose a teacher is teaching a class, so all the students of his or her class are visible to him. Now this status, that is online or offline, that is shown to me. Even the facility of the discussion forum, the one-to-one live audio video discussion forum is also there. Now these are all the special features which I can use to study, to share my study material to my students. Now to upload the study material, now there are the 3 ways to share my lecture notes to my students. I can share my files, I can share my video lectures, and I can also share my short notes to my students, which my students can see at any time, everywhere, anywhere. It means 24/7, they can see my video lectures. All the uploaded study material that is shown to me as well as to my students also. There's an explore button to see more details about my study material. So let's explore. Let's show me it live. So see, this is our in-house developed digital learning management system. On the home page, now there's the quick access to all the platforms of national repute, like our Central University Library, the SWAM platform, NPTEL platform, National Digital Library of the Kharagpur, IIT Kharagpur, Khan Academy, Google Classroom, and many more, the Coursera and many more. The students can directly access all the e-resources from our LMS itself. The login facility, so login facilities available to all the teachers. Our internal ERP system is linked with the digital learning management system. So let it be open. So see, so I'm showing it live. So this is the dashboard. All the students are visible to me. These are all the features available to me. Upload study material tab. I can upload study material in the form of my lecture notes as well as assignments, as well as in the form of tests to my students. Now, when my students are submitting all the assignments or all the tests, I can see them in the submitted assignments tab. Even we have the test facility to take the test of the students, the take test facility, in which now 2 types of tests were configured, the objective type test as well as the subjective type test. So students are eligible to take any type of test depending upon the will of the students, as well as to see how many students are accessing my study material. We have the student download report also, where we can see how many students are basically accessing my study material. The notice board is there, in which all the announcements are given to the students. We can broadcast the announcement to the student, the important deadlines and all that. Even the mail broadcasting facility is also there. So many things are there in our digital learning management system. So during this COVID period, we were using, all the teachers, almost 100%, all the teachers were using the digital learning management system to continue our teaching learning process. So there's many more to go. We have to develop many more things in this digital learning management system. And even we want to tie up with many more reputed institutions like ISRO, IIRS, besides SWAM also, so that we can benefit our students in the digital learning platform. They can learn many more things over there. Besides our own teachings, they can learn many more things over there. So thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you to the organizing team for giving us this opportunity to showcase our digital learning management system and our findings on this platform. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Komal Bhatia and Dr. Neelam Duhan for showcasing the university initiatives on digital learning ground. We are grateful to all speakers for the time and effort they took to share their thoughts and experiences with us. We are quite sure that these deliberations and talks will generate fresh ideas, insights, and solutions to our common global challenges. All the talks were appropriate at this time when we are considering new initiatives for expanding teaching pedagogies of future. Audience is very curious to a number of questions, but I will be limited to only 2 questions, seeking the constraint of the time. So I will be taking this opportunity to put forward these questions to the experts. My first question is to Shri Raj Nehru ji, Vice Chancellor, Skill University. Sir, are you available? Shri Raj Nehru ji.
I think Sanjeev, you posed the question. Other experts can also answer. Okay. Just pose the question.
So I'm putting forward this question to all the invited speakers and the guest over here who can answer this. The question is, what skills must be learned by students among themselves so that they can become job ready after COVID-19? Raj Nehru ji, I think, has joined. Shri Raj Nehru ji. There is a question. Oh, okay. Got it, sir. Got it. Any other expert who can answer this? What skills must be learned by students among themselves so that they can become
you hear me?
job ready after
Yes,
COVID?
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think Raj Nehru ji wants to speak.
Yeah, sorry. I think my phone was muted by the administrator. Now I can hear you.
Yeah.
And I heard you asking a question that what are the skills that are important for students to learn? Am I right? That's what you asked?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So that they can become job ready after COVID-19.
I think, see, fundamentally, if you ask me, the most and the core thing that today a faculty must focus on developing as far as the skills of the students is concerned is critical thinking skills, problem solving skills, creative skills, emotional intelligence skills. These are fundamentally important for our students today if they have to meet and manage the challenges of future, the way things are turning and the way unprecedented things are happening and predictability has become too low. It is important for our youngsters to handle the problems with more confidence, ability to interact with other people collaboratively, handle their personal emotions, handle their personal feelings. That ability, those skill sets have to be taught to them. Besides understanding and predicting the problems and then solving the problems, thinking creatively and through a horizontal thinking, they should be able to handle and solve the problem. This is where the teaching pedagogy of today's time, of future, must be planned. So whatever we are teaching, whichever subject we are teaching, in those subjects, we must ensure as a faculty, we are ingraining these elements so that students are able to develop these skills through the process of teaching that we have designed.
Right. Thank you, sir. I hope that this must have answered the question. I think Dr. Linda is here. Madam Linda, are you here? Dr. Linda?
So, no, I think she is left.
Okay.
No, sir, she is not here.
I just want to put another question to all the experts. How will this COVID-19 affect the entire educational career of a student leading to a job in future? Anyone is a taker? I am again repeating this question. How will this COVID-19 affect the entire educational career of a student leading to a job in future?
Sanjeev, if you allow me, may I take it?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, please.
Okay. So it's a real wonderful question, and I believe everybody in the country, they are looking for an answer. But to all the fellow students and the learners, I must say, we are discussing about the pedagogy. It's not about any pedagogy. So it's just a phase. Hopefully, yes, we need to learn to live with this. Things come by, we have to accommodate, we have to adjust accordingly. So I would like to cite an example, like whatever happened during past recessions as well. If you overlook in 2000 and then in 2008, then we overcome. So it is high time that we need to equip ourselves with couple more things. As just before, Shri Raj Nehruji was advising, and he suggested that design thinking, cognitive skills, and all these kind of stuff, if we students and the fellow students, they learn and equip during this time. I believe this is just a phase for a few months, and then certainly these technologies and these kind of learning capabilities will make or will increase the potential at a level that there will be no dearth, as in we can continue and keep growing as well. There are huge more opportunities. And I believe Raj Nehruji also want to speak something.
I hope this has answered the query. Thank you, Dr. Mohit Gambhir. Now, I invite Professor Lakhvinder Singh, Dean Student Welfare, JC Bose University, YMCA Faridabad, to give closing remarks for the first session. After this, all participants are requested to switch on their video for an online photograph. Lakhvinder sir, please.
Thank you, Sanjeev. Thank you very much. So a very good afternoon to you all. So we have to end of session 1. Now the session has been very fruitful and with expert inputs of all the speakers. So I'm sure that the deliberations are going to help all the participants and their institutions in preparing for this new normal. So on behalf of the university, I express deep sense of gratitude to our most valued chief guest of this session, Shri Raj Nehru ji, Vice Chancellor, Shri Vishwakarma Skill University, for being with us on this symposium. I am thankful to our Vice Chancellor, Sir, Professor Dinesh Kumar ji, for his words of wisdom and guidance. I am thankful and highly obliged to our speakers of this session. Thanks to all for enlightening us on the theme of this session. So now we close the first session and we will meet again at 3 p.m. for our second session on well-being of students. So once again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Lakhvinder sir. Now I again request all the participants to please switch on your video so that online photograph can be taken. All the participants, please. After the photograph, please join us for the next session to commence at 3 p.m. Again requesting, please switch on your video. Thank you all for joining us. I request Krishan sir to please, Dr. Krishan to please take the online snapshot.
Yes, we all are taking these.
All right.
There are so many screens.
Yes, it will take 2 minutes.
Thank you, Dr. Krishan, please.
So on behalf of organizers, I request to join in time, and hopefully we will be able to start and finish up next session within time, please.
I request all participants to not post any message now because the message hides the photos.
All the participants, please don't put anything in the chat box. All the participants, please don't put anything in the chat box. Dr. Krishan is taking a snapshot, so it is obstructing the photographs of some of you.
I think is it done?
2 screens are left, sir. So just give me some seconds. Yes, it's done, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Krishan. Thank you. Thank you all the participants. Thank you all the speakers for joining us. We again request you to please join at 3 p.m. Thank you very much. We are ending this
You're
meeting.
welcome. Welcome.
Thank you.